Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel and to a brand new episode of Writing Wednesdays. So, here we have a new question. Let's see what this is about. In today's world, private companies, rather than the government, pay for and conduct most scientific research. Do you think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? All right, so here, first things first, as always, figure out what is the essay type. And here it's quite obviously an advantage-disadvantage essay. The next thing I enjoy doing is writing my main ideas and my supporting ideas. But remember, you can do it however you want to. This is just my preference. Okay. Right, so first I need to figure out, do I think this is largely a good thing or do I think this is largely a bad thing? I think it's largely bad. So that's gonna be my next main idea. Disadvantages. The first one is gonna be advantages. Okay, so private companies do a lot of research, more research compared to the government. And actually, when you research and you innovate and you make something, you get the rights to that unless you willingly sell your rights. Now the government is supposed to work for the public good. It's supposed to be essentially working for the welfare of people. But private companies care about profits, obviously, since the whole idea, the whole reason behind a private company existing is to make profits. It's a business. It's not a non-governmental welfare organization. So there can be some, ethics concerns. For example, lately, well, of course, not everywhere in the world, but in many countries, for example, drugs like diabetes drugs or even medicine to help thin your blood, these are life-saving things. I mean, if you have that kind of a disease, you need these things. And yet, in some places around the world, these are ridiculously expensive, all because of, again, patents and stuff like that. So it raises some serious moral concerns, obviously. So that's why I have the stand that I do. I don't mean to punish. Of course, I mean, if you pay for something and you take that risk, you deserve to be, to have the right to it. But I mean, there should be an element of humanity to it. Okay, that's enough yapping. Let's get on with writing. Okay, so private company. Government pay for and conduct most scientific research. Innovation, privately funded research and innovation in science has led or leads to or has led to great leaps in privately funded innovation research in science. Great has led to a lot of progress. Oh well, you know what? I'll keep the first version. Progress, or has, benefited humanity. Oops, hold on. Led to, I think I prefer this. Again, it's just a style thing. So benefits for humanity, for the human race, for humanity, both work fine. Oh, a lot of benefits. Privately funded research and innovation in science has led to a lot of benefits for humanity. Or maybe you can say privately funded research in science has birthed a lot of. Okay, that's like way too complicated. We'll keep it simple. Funded research, and you have innovation. Maybe I want to say something. I don't know. And then the next one would, of course, be however. Privately funded research has consistently. outperformed publicly funded. Yeah, this makes a lot more sense. Why? Because my previous sentence was really just about the benefits of private research. Although that's not entirely wrong, the focus of this essay is really comparing private versus public research. The whole thing with, again, it's mostly private companies doing all the research rather than the government, which doesn't do as much research. So this seems to be a more appropriate sentence. Has, for the most part, or yeah, that's okay. It's simple enough sentence. No need to complicate it. You have to sometimes stop yourself. Okay, for example, in the area of medicine, for example, aspirin. You know how aspirin was discovered? Of course, at one time, herbalists would be called witches and whatnot because they knew that, oh, you can, scrape the bark of this tree and you'll get some pain relief. And people thought, that's a witch, burn her. Stuff like that. So anyway, so Bayer, if I recall correctly, was the first company to actually research, this, I think it's the willow tree bark. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going off what I remember. But yeah, so they, did all the research, and now we have this wondrous drug called aspirin. And aspirin has a lot of uses. So obviously, they paved the way. And they also have so one is research in medicine. That's obviously good because that helps, us as a society. Governments have multiple goals, they have to do a lot of things. A government has to take care of health, take care of infrastructure, deal with foreign policy. Governments have multiple goals. Private companies just have one. So it's like when you just have one thing to work on, like, oh, let's develop this product and research on how to make this product better, right? It's easier to achieve that goal. But governments have, it's like a parent with too many kids, right? How are you going to ensure, if you have like 15 children, just imagine, how are you going to ensure that you devote enough time and attention and resources to all of them? That's just not going to happen. So that's one of the reasons why the government can't do as much research, and the research that they do perform doesn't really, the volume of research just isn't, so they don't have the resources, I mean to say. It's a question of having enough, resources. But I don't know, I might change this idea because you always have to check. Some questions can be a little bit complicated, so you have to be careful. Okay, outperform. So greater output. And of course, they're also often quicker, less bureaucracy, right? Better for example, obviously, one example can be the COVID vaccine, no matter what you think of it. But it was rolled out very quickly. And that kind of quickness, of course, the government had a role to play, but it was mostly private players who like, okay, let's create something. Whether it's effective or not is a different, conversation entirely. Let's not get into that now. But within just a year, you had a functioning vaccine. Now, if that was left up to the government, obviously they have to do all these, checks and balances and stuff like that. That would have taken a long, long time, right? So overall, if you can get a result faster, or if you can get a product faster, whatever it is, for example, internet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the internet anyway, that was actually a government project, in fact, so let's not consider that. But most other things, right? They've all been, again, a result of, it just improves our lives. It improves all of our lives. However, increasing private research or increasing private investment and in scientific and infrastructural fields. Again, infrastructure is also investment in science does raise some questions. First, you have morality. For example, some drugs. I think there was a guy who went to jail, Martin Shkreli. Didn't he go to jail because he increased the price of some kind of drug? And of course, he was a private investor. He could decide, okay, I want to, change the price of this medicine. So that can be a moral question. Also, it could be that they might be able to develop an unfair, they could develop a monopoly, duopoly, so they could create unfair market conditions. They might take something that's public. I can't think of, oh yeah, for example, no, not that one. I can't think of an example right now. We do have, for example, Nestle, which, if I'm not wrong, in Australia or somewhere else, I don't know where. I could be grossly incorrect, of course, but they started to buy entire bodies of water. And so that was supposed to be, a public good. And so how does that get sold to a private company and then they use that? So again, I think it just ties back to morality. Government works for public good, welfare, and private companies care about profit. You can use short forms, by the way, because of course this is just note making. Care about profit over all else, even if it means that we're going to, create a subpar product and then we get more money from it. That's the goal, because they have to please shareholders and things like that. Well, the government just cares about, well, it's supposed to care about its citizens. And then we've got the last idea. Does raise some questions, or is a cause presents, I think this might be nice, presents a cause for concern. Or is a cause for concern. Why else is that a problem? Their intentions can never truly be known. But I think that covers morality. For example, there's a lot more research into. You have, for example, the first mover's advantage can create unfair market conditions. Like, let's say you are the first person who develops something that can really improve people's lives. It doesn't have to be a drug. It could be any kind of technology. Let's say, for example, if it wasn't the government that found the internet, developed what was back then the internet, and if it was a private company that did that, and then they essentially had full and total control over how the internet would be developed, right? That would be a problem, because then they could decide, okay, we're going to ensure that the price of an internet connection is maybe $500 a month. And then who would be able to afford that? So it's not just about medicine, but it's about a lot of things. And there we go. So now we're going to write our introduction. This one took a little bit of time, I think, to come up with good ideas. Oh yeah, it's already like 12 minutes. I think this is like, this is really something where you have to kind of spend some time, because again, research and science and public versus private, this is definitely not, when I think of from the point of view of someone taking the exam, this is definitely something that might trip a few people up, unless of course they have a background in science. Okay, so let's start with our introduction. Okay. What am I? Private companies pay for and conduct most scientific research. Growing, or let's say most development, science and technology. Science and technology are very closely related. Like, let's say if you want to, decrease the size of a battery while still increasing its power, you do need science in there, so they're kind of, interconnected there. Most development in science, technology, most strides, most strides in development in science and technology have largely been made by private, or profit focused, or private businesses looking to, not earn a quick buck. That's a very casual way of saying things. So it's the first thing that came to mind. Most strides in development science, or maybe I can change that and write something. I want it to be more impressive. So, over the past, especially since, well, okay, let's not get into history. That would be a bit too much for an essay like this. Although strides have been made in science and technology over the last century, especially over the last, 100-ish years. It's been crazy. Like 20 years ago, do you remember how we used to have those, analog cameras and how expensive it was to print one picture? And now it's nothing, right? You can take 1,000 pictures and it would cost you nothing right now. It's crazy how quickly. And AI, who can forget that? I mean, 5 years ago, AI was like not even a thing, but now it's like everywhere. So many strides have been made in science and technology over the last century. These have largely been the result of private investment as governments across the world deal with other major issues. Like I said, governments have many goals. They don't just have one goal in mind. So naturally, you have this much money, but you have to do so many things. And in fact, there are many companies that are so powerful, that are so wealthy, that they have more money than even some governments across the world. Entire countries. There are companies whose, essentially GDP is higher if you calculate it that way compared to some countries. So that's crazy, but it's true. Despite the fact that this has largely benefited humanity. Oh, why is there a double T? This doesn't make sense. There should only be one. Okay. Despite the fact that this has largely benefited humanity, or wait a second. No, that's not what I mean to say. I am again. Okay. Despite the fact that these developments looks like my keyboard is acting up again. These developments have, okay, yes. Okay, great. I just needed to remove largely, because if you say largely benefited, that means you're in favor of that side. But I'm not. I'm actually in the favor of thinking that this is a problem. So, despite the fact that these developments have benefited humanity, it does raise questions about the long-term impact of low government involvement in this field or in this sector. Or the same thing. You can use either word. Okay, well, the text looks too big. I'll just decrease the size a little bit. There we go. So the next thing we need is our first body paragraph. And we're going to copy our main idea, which is right here. And then we're going to write our first idea. I think maybe, for example, has outperformed. This should maybe be the first example. And then this would naturally be related, and this one can be the last one. Whoops, that is so like reverse. But anyway, you get the point. Most pertinent factor here is the speed at which companies are able to plan, not just plan, but also execute these plans, their plans, as they do not have to deal with a lot of bureaucracy, unlike in the public sector. Which ultimately means that any, findings can benefit humanity much quicker and solve people's problems. Benefit humanity and solve people's problems much quicker. There we go. And then another relevant, let's see, no, governments have multiple goals, relevant factor, this is also fine. I'm just thinking if I should, something seems wrong. I guess I would say this contributes, but I don't want to use the word on the contributing. Or no, governments have. Well, no, I don't want to use the word factor. Maybe I'll say component or contributing component. No, I'll use component. Pure. Great. The most important. Pertinent just means important. You can also replace pertinent with important. Another contributing factor to the soaring performance, or maybe I don't want to write too much because sometimes what happens is we can use fewer words and get the same point across. Like, in addition to the fact that blah 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 blah, you can just write in addition something something something, right? So often, what they say, brevity is the soul of wit, and I have to kind of control myself to not write too much. Because of course, well, it's not like you have a limit. You can write as much as you want, but you do have a time limit, right? Another contributing factor to maybe I can just say is have multiple goals that need to be ended to. Unlike private companies whose only goals are turning a profit and pleasing shareholders, which means they can invest all of a major chunk, a major part of their resources and deliver a greater output. There we go. Okay, another contributing factor is that governments have multiple goals that need to be tended to, multiple goals tended to with limited resources. Unlike private companies, their only goals are showing a profit and pleasing shareholders, which means they can they can devote a major part of the resources to deliver a greater output. That sounds nicer. And then the last one, medicine. In other fields, such as medicine, private players have been, it is mostly that have made the most breakthroughs, such as in the case of aspirin, which was, created by fire. There we go. And such discoveries have alleviated, not just pain, but also I would just say suffering in general, the suffering of millions, not even millions, billions, right, of people worldwide. And so the last sentence, thus, public entities and private entities. Public entities underperform while seem to underperform in comparison. There we go. An entity is just like an entity can be many things. Can be a legal entity like a corporation, government, etc. Sometimes we use the word entity for ghosts and stuff like that. Okay, then I have my next body paragraph. Put that over here. Is a cause for concern, and then we've got these ideas. What I'll do is I'll just copy them over here so I can see them. Oh, this is supposed to be a pageless format. Let me just change that real quick because I don't like this format. It's supposed to be pageless. Okay, there we go. That's much nicer. You can see the whole thing without that weird, ugly white blank. Okay. Right, and cause for concern. The government force. Okay, now I need to check if these ideas are okay in the right order. I think morality is the biggest concern. Yeah? But you could also say, for example, would be It is source of a. Trying to think of a way to. I guess you could say it's risky to have. Well, no, my question is about morality. Yeah, I think this actually ties to the next because the fact that they have profit as a goal can lead to some immoral decisions. So I think that this is much more fluid. It's just kind of looks better to me. Of course, everybody will have their own way of thinking, but I'm satisfied with this so far. Okay, so increasing private investment decides the cause for concern. This is largely due to the fact that the government is supposed to work in favor or work for public welfare, whereas private companies put profit above all else. Supposed to work for public welfare, private companies put profit above all else, often including above everything, including human welfare. This naturally can lead to some issues of morality, such as the case of certain drugs, like what's the name? Metformin. I believe metformin. Metformin, which is used to control diabetes. This naturally can lead to, or I can say maybe consequently or as a consequence of profit seeking. Such organizations can. Wait a second. Why is there a problem here? I have to change the language to British English. Never mind. As a consequence of profit seeking, such organizations can make decisions that could be immoral or against public welfare, public good, public well-being, such as in the case of certain drugs, for example, metformin, just for diabetes. In many countries around the world, this life-saving insured drug is priced out of most people's reach, leading to preventable death. Okay, and then the next one, first mover's advantage. Okay. Yet another concerning factor is first mover's advantage. First movers, it's just like, wait a second, first mover. Do I really mean this or no? Just when they well, obviously they're doing research, so they're the first person that not the person, sorry. If a company does research, then they figure out, this thing works and this thing is new and we can, yeah, that's the first mover advantage, of course. So yeah, it's first mover advantage. Oops, what happened there? Advantage is a first mover advantage which can be unfairly enjoyed by private companies, by such entities. Why is that? Oh, yeah, okay, unfair market. Okay, the concerning factor is the first mover advantage enjoyed by such entities if they discover a novel, something new, which can lead to unfair market conditions, especially in the case of especially concerning innovations that are necessary for humanity as a whole. Right? If you find something that can really improve the lives of almost every person on earth, but you have a patent or whatever, it's kind of unfair because the benefit of all of humanity is more important than the benefit of some people, right? that are necessary for humanity's development or for the benefit of humanity. Okay, and then finally, you also need a concluding sentence. Not really necessary, but it's nice to have. I like having that. So, hence, I think it should be brought under control, but I don't want to write anything brand new. So, decreasing public funding in these fields raises alarms. It's concerning. I've already said a cause for concern, so that's fine. There we go. And then the last thing I need is a conclusion. So in conclusion, it is evident that what is evident? Despite the many benefits that private research has had for human beings, it is something that must be kept under control. Well, that must be viewed objectively to ensure that it does not work against human welfare. If people truly wish to, or let's say if governments worldwide do not start increasing or increasing their or let's say start allocating a more significant part of their budget for research, it could spell doom for humanity. Yeah. There you go. Okay, a little bit too negative maybe. That's fine though, it's your opinion. And so here's a whole essay. This is 415 words. Here's the first paragraph. You can click on the screen to stop it, to pause it, and you can read it. Then we've got the next paragraph. Then we have the next one. Finally, we have a conclusion. So that was that. It was fun, if a bit challenging, because it's a new topic. It's definitely not like the usual same old stuff. So it was fun to think about. All right then, so I'll see you in the next video. But before you go, don't forget to click on like, share it with a friend you know that's preparing for the IELTS. It could be helpful to them, and we have tons and tons of videos. So don't forget to check them all out, and I'll see you next Wednesday. In fact, I'll actually probably see you tomorrow as well, because we have videos coming up like almost every day. Not every single day, but yeah, a few times a week. So don't forget to check them out, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.